If your pivot tables look like a cramped tax document from 1994, you aren't a data analyst, you're a data janitor. So today we're killing ugly pivot tables. I'm going to show you how to format pivot tables that look like a professional BI tool, but actually updates and keeps its design every time you add in new data. My name is Kyle, and I spent years turning messy spreadsheets into actionable dashboards. So today, we're fixing your pivot table formatting for good. Let's go ahead and dive in. So now that we're in Excel, you see we have a table here with our department, expense category, our budget, and our actual spend. We'll go ahead and select Add as a pivot table. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure that we select Add this data to the data model, and you'll see why. It's going to be a pro tip later on. We'll press OK. So in a new sheet, you see we have our pivot table ready to go. We're going to go ahead and drop in our region, our department, our expense category, and then under values, we'll have our budget, our actual spend, our variance status. Go ahead and move this. And then you can see at first glance, this pivot table doesn't tell us a whole lot. So we definitely need to go in here and format everything to make it look a little bit better. First thing I want to do is I want to go in here and clean up our numbers so that they read as numbers. So go ahead and right click and select number format. And then we're going to select number. And then we're going to select 1000 separator and get rid of those decimals. We'll press OK. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing real quick right here, 1000 and we'll go ahead and get rid of that. And you see then we can actually read them as numbers with the 1000 separator. What I also want to do is, if I was going to present this in front of a leader or my manager, I don't want to say sum of budget, sum of actual spend. I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control H, go ahead and bring that up, and then I'm going to find sum of, and I'm going to replace it with a blank right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and replace all. And then you see that we made 2 replacements and we cleaned up our headers. Go ahead and close this. All right, so in addition to cleaning up the numbers, I also want to clean up our formatting just a little bit. So I'm going to add a space in between our bottom value and the next grouping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into design and then go into blank rows. And then I'm going to select insert blank line after each item and press OK. And then you can see just like that, we have a little bit more spacing or grouping between each one of our regions. And it makes the readability of this pivot table just a little bit better. That way we're not trying to understand which expense goes with what department. And that just helps clean it up just a little bit further. So up next, you can see in our count of variance status, we have numbers there. But if we go back to our data, we can actually see that our variance status is text. So we have whether we're under budget or over budget or on track to hit our budget. And we want to replicate that same look in our pivot table. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our pivot table right here. And this next tip is why we hit that add this data to the model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my pivot table fields. I'm going to right click on table 1, and then I'm going to select add measure. We'll go ahead and bring that up. We'll call our measure name variance underscore status. Unfortunately, you can't have spaces, so we're going to use that underscore right there. And our formula will be concatenate X. I'll go ahead and select that right there. And then our grouping will be table 1. We'll press tab to lock that in. And then we'll press comma to select our expression. And that'll be table 1, but we're going to use our variance status. Press tab to lock that in. Then we're going to press comma. And then in quotations, we're going to put a comma and another parentheses and go ahead and lock it in. And then just as a good check, we are going to select check DAX formula. And it says this formula has no errors. So that's fantastic. And then also make sure down in the category that we select general, and then we'll press OK. And then what I'm going to do now, just to avoid any issues, is I'm going to pull in our month right here and put it in filters. And I'm just going to select an easy month. We'll just select April. I'll press OK. All right, awesome. So now that our formula is set up, I'm just going to do a quick little editing here. I'm going to get rid of the count of various status. I'm going to put our month into filters just to give you guys a clean view of this. And then I'm going to drop in our variance status into values. And you see it just kind of like spills over. But this is the reason for adding in the month. I'm just going to select on February right here. And then you can see I have a listing of whether we're under, over budget. Instead of those count numbers, we just change that into text in our pivot tables. I'm going to go ahead and go to design and remove the grand totals just to clean it up on the bottom there. And now you see we have a nice clean variance analysis for the month of February. Next up, we need to stop making people read every single number in our pivot table. So we're going to add data bars so the big numbers pop instantly. But don't just click apply. That's a rookie mistake. That breaks the moment your data changes. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we apply that the correct way. All right, so now that we're in our pivot table, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select in our actual spend column, go up to conditional formatting and select new rule. And then you can see we can apply this rule to C9, but I'm actually going to select all cells showing actual spend values. And then we're going to go ahead and select a data bar. I like blue. I think that's fantastic. And then alternatively, if you didn't want to show any numbers and you want to dress it up a little bit further, you can also select the show bar only, and then that would only show the bar with no numerical value underneath. We'll go ahead and press OK. And then you see we have these beautiful data bars in our actual spend. But if I change to like, let's say January and press OK, you see that our data bars stay with our data, which is fantastic. All right, so up next, I also want to apply conditional formatting to our variance status. So what I'm gonna do is go into conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and anything that is equal to. So I'll go ahead and select that. Anything that is over, we want to fill with a light red fill and dark red text. We'll press OK. But you see nothing happened, nothing populated there for me. What you want to do is you want to select this little icon right here for formatting options, and then select all cells showing variance status values. We'll click that, and then boom, just like that, you see our overs populate. We want to do the same thing for our under. So we'll go ahead and conditional formatting, highlight cell rules equal to, and then we'll type in under, and we're going to fill that in with green because that is a positive variance. We'll press OK. Again, select our little formatting tool right here, and we'll select all cells showing variance status values. We have a dynamic pivot table that will automatically update as we go through and filter on different months. But as I filter to April, there's one thing that's kind of popping out to me. Do you see it? When I look at our pivot table, I see these blanks right here. I don't see any values in our data set. And to me, that looks a little somewhat incomplete. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and right click in my pivot table, and I'm gonna go to pivot table options. And then you can see under format, I have a radio box selected that says for empty cells show. It is currently blank, but I'm gonna go ahead and put in a 0, and then we'll press OK. And instantly the table feels a little bit more solid. There's no more gaps, there's no more missing data. It just now looks like a clean, professional grid. You've officially moved from the old world of manual work to the new world of automated insights. And if you found this video helpful, go ahead and click one of these down below that YouTube finds that you're gonna like. We'll see you in the next one.